So, folks, once again, this is Rick Moore, co-founder of BidPoint Energy Media. Our relationship with Avion Energy is a great one, and it's a great thing for you guys too. And we've got the founder of Avion Energy, Joe Mediga, here. And Joe, want to do a little sound check here. I'm assuming you can hear me. How about checking in, and we'll get this party started.
Yeah, excellent, Rick. Thanks for having me on the call today.
Absolutely. So I guess if we kind of kind of the story of energy, if you will, Joe. I mean, I know we've had discussion about kind of the mindset that people have, and kind of the breakthrough to kind of be in a business and have that first conversation, and have that breakthrough moment. And you and I have seen it where once somebody gets through that first conversation successfully, that's kind of what it takes to take off and succeed. So let's talk about that a little bit, and kind of what's been your experience in the 7-year, and before that too, where we worked together in the energy business, and kind of how you see the psychology of that.
Sure. Well, again, Rick, thanks for having me on the call, and welcome everybody. And energy, it's really a great topic. We started Avion 7 years ago, really, Rick, because we saw an opportunity to create something for a marketplace that is basically limitless. $750 billion in energy spend. It's a mandatory product. It's not optional. It isn't. You don't get to choose if you're in business whether you have electricity and natural gas or not. You have to have it. And it was one of those things to where we started this whole idea because we saw the possibility. And then we really made sure we took the time, and we're talking almost 4 years to take the time to build the service that people could truly believe in. And what happened throughout from the beginning days to, let's say, month 40, month 48, is that we were able to go from the conversation of competitive pricing to best. And the difference between the two is when you have every large energy supplier in any given utility who is bidding on your client's business, we know you're getting the best price. And we wanted to make sure prior to truly the development of a team like BidPoint is doing, we wanted to make sure as a company that as people get involved, they could feel deeply confident in our ability to find best pricing. And that's why we took so long in the beginning, to build it in such a way that we have. And, over the years in our 900 plus clients and growing every day, we've learned a few things. And really the bottom line to the entire energy world is the bottom line question is, are people being overcharged? Period. And, when I heard the 8-second question, Rick, I'm not going to try to repeat it. I'll let you do that in a second. But when I heard the BidPoint 8-second question, I said, that's the missing link. That's the missing opening line. And, I've been around the industry, the home-based business, network marketing, MLM, all of that world where individual entrepreneurs come to an organization hoping to earn income. Well, we developed something here where it's not hope anymore, Rick. It's not an if you can. It's not maybe you could. It's none of that anymore. We're not building something in hope. We've got the facts that it is. In fact, we even have the structure of an affiliate marketing program where we've eliminated all entries to barrier from the field agent side. So, what I used to tell people all the time, and this is back when we had only a handful of suppliers, is that the truth of the matter is your income, and I don't care who you are listening to this call today, your income is directly proportional to the number of conversations you're having. Now, the difference in most people's conversations and why I think the mindset sometimes here is a little bit more challenging is because the end user product so very often is a higher dollar amount. for those who aren't experienced in the commercial world, sometimes there's a kind of a concern about that, if you will. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to say it. Those things. And if you're on the call today and you've been in for any length of time and you haven't been able to start the conversations, I go back to the 8-second question because it's real. Now, I know for myself and what we experienced over the years, Rick, is that people had different things going on in their head which caused their own confusions, if you will, which stopped them from having the initial conversation or the initial asking of a question. And, some of the concerns were, well, what if somebody asks me a question I don't know? Can Avion really handle this large client? Are they really getting the best price? Are there all of those? And the answer at this point, unequivocally, is yes. And the truth of the matter is, as a field agent out there, it's really not your individual job to know the depth and the detail of energy procurement. That's what Avion does. And that's what our staff does. And that's what Jim Sharon and his staff have had multiple classes and education on the real procurement side, and some of them are more complex. Well, the good news is for the field agent, their job is exposure. And I can tell you so very often, and we tried to in the beginning, tried to identify what motivates and what demotivates and what causes people to create action and what holds people back from creating action. And typically, the lack of action so very often was, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to somebody. And we said it right from the beginning, if you're involved here, simply because the only way there's income truly generated in the opportunity that we're here having in the middle of is the client gathering. And I really suggest people, search their own heart and soul on this next question, though if you give it any relative thought at all, everybody that's going to be listening to these calls knows 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 business owners who they can ask that question to. And, I hate to say it, but the truth is, Rick, if somebody really doesn't, have a handful or more people that they could ask the question to, it's probably not the opportunity that's really best for them. But the bottom line is if you frequent a restaurant, you know that person. If you frequent a dry cleaner, if you go to a grocery store, everywhere you go, you're walking into commercial buildings. And I don't care who the entrepreneur is. I don't care if they've got a single laundromat or if they've got a chain of fast food stores, if they are the manager at Walmart or if they own or, in some nonprofit and have to manage 100 churches. I don't care who they are. Nobody, and I say nobody, likes to be overcharged. And the truth is, in our industry, in the energy industry, typically the individual who's making that decision, they're making the decision of energy procurement. They're signing a contract hoping, thinking, believing that they're getting a competitive price. Well, I'm here to tell you, especially for larger clients, if competitive is the only thing they're basing it on, they're paying too much. And that's an absolute. And I could say that in every form that there is, they're paying too much. Because our system, we see what just the normal supplier does in the sales process. They create this overwhelming sense of urgency because it is a price point based on the energy markets, the stock market, and the price they've given the client is only good for the day. But the entire experience, if one of your friends or clients or coworkers or family members or whoever is making that decision and they don't have somebody like us basically handling it for them, what's happening is they're sitting across from somebody and that entire transaction is set up for the supplier's benefit, not the consumer's benefit. It's just not. And typically what the supplier is selling to the client is the idea of ease and long-term reputation and size of company and all of that. You know, you should believe us because we're big and we got 300 employees and all of those reasons. That's what the salespeople are doing out there. Well, Avion, when we're representing the client, we back all of the large billion-dollar providers. We put them all in the place they need to be, and that we are the channel that causes every one of those suppliers, if they want our customers' business, they got to do one thing, and that's make sure they have the best price possible. And everybody competes for that end-user client. So, you know, it's one of those experiences where if you're listening to the call today and you haven't already broke through and had those conversations, you know, I suggest that you reach out to somebody. It's a simple thing, but it's not easy until you do it a couple times. It's one of those experiences that as you break through, as you figure out in your sphere how to introduce the 8-second question, it's really something you could do every day. And it's one of those things. It's a very easy business to get referrals for. And what we really identified for most people is when they truly understand that whatever their financial goal is, Rick, you know, nobody enrolls in an affiliate-type marketing program if income creation isn't at the top of their mind. You know, we don't very rarely do we get a multi-millionaire that needs no more money to get involved with us. You know, we're all here to create income streams. And when people understand that in our world, I don't care how large or how small, it's all math. It's all numbers. It's pure numbers. And the numbers are the thing that can add up quickly with conversations. And if you're here today and you don't really know how to start the conversation or who to have the conversation with or what to say, that's why the BidPoint program, Rick, is so, it was the link that Avion knew from day one. We never even tried to create what BidPoint has today, quite honestly, because as we were building our technology and our system and our product, our service, we didn't want to grow faster than we could actually handle. Well, today with the Direct Connect portal, the technology, the suppliers, the brokers, everything in place, it doesn't matter how fast you and your organization grows, we can and will keep up and, you know, surpass anything that could be created from the field because we planned on it 4 years ago. You know, the technology allows us to do that. So it's really today, it's up to the individual who's on the phone call today listening to say to themselves, how much will really make a difference in my life? And typically, you know, you have people from the stage or people in my position here telling you can make millions and buy an island and build a massive team. But the truth of the matter is they can't back it up. You can't literally back it up with numbers. Well, in our world, I'm here to tell you, I don't care how large your income desire is, I can back it up with how many kilowatts you personally have to have on the books and how large a team you need to have with the number of kilowatts in your team to equate back to an income stream. And that's really the most exciting thing about this business. So very often people get involved and they say, you know, if I could make another $500, if I could make another $1,000 a month, my life would be changed. Well, I'm here to tell you that in our world, $1,000 a month, that could be done easy. I hate to say it could be done in 7 days, but it could. We've had people, Rick, that in one client that developed over a few months, they're over $5,000 a month, one client. Now think about if you're that person out there that says, I want $50,000 a month. Where else is it available? It's not. And I don't care what's going on out there. I know there's all sorts of different promises when it comes to opportunities. There's nothing like this because every opportunity out there besides what we do, it's discretionary products. Nothing has a mandatory end user like electricity, let alone natural gas. So, you know, Rick, we're at a good place. People listening to this call today, they are extremely fortunate to have found their way to these calls, working with an organization like BidPoint. who's coming up with the marketing, who's supporting people, who's coming up with a system of education and training. And if you're here and you're listening and you're saying, I don't know how to get started, reach out, talk to somebody, call somebody, because it's as simple as doing it a couple times. And, once you get in a role, then it's the income, the end user income, the end result income is how many conversations do you have? Because any business owner, and I don't care who they are, large or small, there's not a business owner who's in business today who would rather pay more versus less for a mandatory product, electricity and natural gas. And our system, at no cost, no additional cost to the consumer, guarantees that they're paying the best price possible. So, Rick, that's I appreciate you having me on. If you have any direct questions I could answer, I'd be happy to do so.
I think you mentioned the 8-second question, and it's kind of funny because I got to go through that process the other day with somebody I know, because sometimes the challenge is you don't know the person that well. Sometimes the challenge is the person knows you too well.
Sure.
So either way, the 8-second question works. And literally, I had a person who I was in the restaurant business, obviously, as you know, and I had one of my ex-chefs has several restaurants here in town, and I was just there eating lunch. I was busy. It wasn't really on my mind. And then I thought, as he came by and shook my hand, I said, "Hey, you know what? I need to get a look at your energy bills." And he knew we had started this company, and it was just kind of funny. He's like peppering me with all these questions, trying to show that the student now had surpassed the teacher in the restaurant business, right? So I said, look, it doesn't really work that way. What you're paying is what you're paying. We send it out to the marketplace, but it's just like this. I don't know if I can help you or not, but if you get me your bills, I can submit it. We'll take a look. It's free, and we'll find out if you're being overcharged. And literally, that's pretty close to the 8-second question verbatim, right? And
right.
So amazingly, he's looking at me, because here's what you do. You're not selling energy. You're getting their attention. And to get a business owner's attention, you got to stop and get their attention. You don't have to sell energy. You don't have to sell kilowatts. You don't have to sell therms. You have to get their attention. And what I said on the back end of that, Joe, was, this isn't like gasoline. It isn't like one place is $2.39 and one place is $2.38. This is more like you might be paying $2.40 and you could be paying $1.40, by comparison. I said,
yes.
So, it is worth taking a look. So you've got to get their attention and establish the value in taking a look, right? So that whole conversation was probably 60 seconds that I had a chance to have with that person, because they're running around working the restaurant shift. They weren't just casually walking through the dining room. I had about 60 seconds to get it done. It might have been less than that. Of course, I come from the restaurant business, so I understand, if you're going to walk into a business and you don't know anybody there and you don't know the decision maker's name, that's going to be an unsuccessful pass through a business, because you haven't done your advance work to at least find out. It's like, Joe, when you and I were having breakfast this morning and leaving, even though I'm a veteran of the restaurant business, I knew I couldn't go back in there later without having the decision maker's name, right? Remember we were talking about that? It's like I saw
Sure.
the guy walk through, I said hello to him as he walked by, and I said, I got to get that guy's name. Some of that's just kind of common sense. But the 8-second question absolutely works. And then the other thing is, once you've got somebody's attention and they want to have a deeper conversation, they know they have interest, then it's time to kind of phone a friend, right? And that might be me. That might be you. That might be Jim Sharon. So expand on that a little bit. Like, what's that kind of whale call or three-way call or setting it up? What does that look like with Avion?
Rick, it's one of those things to where when you've got a client whose use is larger, that it's something that there's more than one person making the decision on it. They have multiple locations. Their bill is large. It's really just a level of comfort that they're wanting. And basically what we do, and we do it all the time, I do it now, because even there isn't a question out there I couldn't personally answer, but the truth of the matter is, when I edify the experts on my staff and I edify Jim or whoever, Kim or who's ever going to be on the call, then when the person that I'm putting them on the phone with, there's an automatic respect, there's an automatic feeling like this guy's really going to be able to answer my questions, because all a consumer's wanting is a level of comfort. And, it is not uncommon, typically, especially on a larger deal, and when I say larger, if a bill is a couple $1,000s a month, even though it might be significant for the consumer in the energy world, it's not even a blip. But if somebody's in that $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, they start moving into the medium size and above. It gets to be pretty significant, and what they're really wanting to know is Avion who you're saying Avion is? Are we really able to accomplish what we are? And I don't try to, in any given conversation, sell somebody on the idea of everything we are, how we do it. I let the experts do that. So I set it up. I set up an appointment time, and I would get someone like yourself on the call, or someone like Jim, and let Jim do the talking. Let Jim share the story. Let Jim say the exact same thing I probably already said once, but just coming from the expert, if you will, just brings a level of comfort to the consumer. And for the field agents who's listening here, I'm here to tell you right now, I don't care who it is, I don't care how large, I don't care how many locations, I don't care how long they've been dealing with one particular supplier. None of that matters, because our system is so unique out there. I mean, it's why we have a patent pending on our whole idea, our whole system, because nobody has what we have. And the honest to goodness truth, Rick, the reason nobody has what they have was because of my personal concern and Jim Sharon's personal concern 7 years ago, that individuals like yourselves are out there putting your reputation and your credibility on the line and trusting that we could do it, So we took that very serious. I mean, we were 20 years in the field ourselves. So we could have effortlessly stopped at 20 suppliers, and most companies, if they even have 10, feel like they're okay. Well, we have 70 plus suppliers now, because we want to make sure that our end users, who are our field people, that their relationship, with their sphere of influence is influenced and is strengthened by adding the Avion service to the business owner, not weakened in any way, shape, or form. So, we've been doing this a while, and the answer, if they get super technical or there's some extremely complex whatever, that's perfectly fine. We have experts in the energy field itself, from the large suppliers and outside resources, that we get engaged at any level. It just doesn't matter. So that's how we do it. And, the bottom line, typically all somebody's wanting is, from the consumer side of things, is a feeling of comfort. And, an objection that we used to get is the consumer would say, well, no, it's okay. I'm okay. And then we would say, well, how do you know? Like, truly, how do you know that you've got the best price? Well, my supplier told me I was competitive. And we're like, yeah, we know. That's the issue. That you're one company, you're one supplier.
When has anybody ever had a supplier who said they weren't competitive, right?
Exactly. And the good news from ours is the level of comfort that the consumer has, Rick, because whoever their supplier is now, I guarantee you, they'll be on our list of 15, 16, 18, 20, 6, depending on size, location, utility. But the consumer then has a price point from, if you're in Connecticut, for example, from all 7 of the licensed suppliers in Hartford, Connecticut, all 7 of them would be on the list, not just one. Are in Pico, South Philadelphia, Pico. There might be 16. There might be 20. So the consumer is sitting here saying, oh, now I see why I've got the best price with this company out of Florida, Liberty Power I'd never heard of, because their price is 5.2 and everybody else, all other 15 suppliers, are higher. So there's a different level of comfort. And, we are at a place to where the field agents that are out there now kind of exposing what we do, it's never been done before. I mean, it's never been done before. The opportunity that individuals have to create small incomes, medium incomes, or large incomes, it's mind-boggling, actually, because the industry itself is so large. And deregulation, there's only 16 states that are fully deregulated. I mean, we've got the future of our opportunity is even brighter than it is today, and today we're at $700 billion. So I like to say it like this, Rick. It's one of those things where in the past when we were doing this and we were creating what we were creating to get ourselves to here, where we are now, and the relationship now that we have with BidPoint, this is the culmination of 2.5, almost 3 years worth of planning. And, we wanted to make sure that when we launched, a partnership with an organization like BidPoint, that all of our I's were dotted and our T's were crossed, and everything was there, ready. We wanted to be ready before we launched, and that's why the timing is the way the timing is. And we also wanted to really see the effectiveness. Like, it's one thing to say something works. It's another thing to have proof of concept. Well, our 91% renewal rate, that's real live stats. That's real live companies that have used us over and over and over and over, because what we do is incomparable out there. They can nowhere close to it by themselves, what we can. And there's no other company out there that has the supplier base that we do. And quite honestly, no other company ever will, because some of the suppliers that we're channel partners with today, they don't even take on new brokers like us. So, it's very unique where we're at. Now, quite honestly, Rick, the only thing we have never been challenged with is we haven't had a field agent that's come here and said, hey, look, I'm going to take the next 2 years of my life, go build a book of business and a team, because I want to make $1 million a year. I want a $100,000 a month check. And when somebody does that, I'll never forget, Rick, and you remember Mr. Tom Pennick. Tom was one of these guys 25 years ago. We're in a nutritional company, and he says, you know what? I'd put 5 pennies in my left pocket, and I'd have 5 conversations. And every time I had a conversation, I'd move a penny from one side to the other. And he did that for 2 years. And this man built a 7-figure income on a nutritional product. Sooner or later, and it's probably somebody listening to this call today, but I can pretty much guarantee you, Rick, anybody that just asked 5 people a day that 8-second question, 5 days a week for a couple of years, 7 figures is not out of line. And there'll be people that do more than that. So it's exciting.
I think, we do have some of those people in the stable, and you're absolutely right. I mean,
I believe it.
Everyone in the industry who've been around has chased the residual income dream, but this is one of the few I can't think of another product that truly is a residual income, because when you're keeping 91% when your retention rate is 91% and your customers are contractually obligated, I mean, it stays on the books. I mean, every commercial energy customer I've ever put on the books, those that are still in business, and I think almost all of them are still on the books.
That's right.
So that to me is the basis of why we're still here. I want to mention to everybody, in fact, I've just gotten some material in, that we're going to have collateral material that supports some of what we're discussing here. We have to be careful a little bit what we put in print. We obviously have video support for everything that we do, but we're going to have some collateral material that people will be able to use. But I would suggest that the collateral material is a leave behind, not a present with. The material is not going to trump the conversation, and it's not something you can just, it still has to. You get their attention before anything works. Is the way that I would say it. Whether it's a video, whether it's print material, getting their attention is how it works. And if you're calling on kind of a local business, you've got to get them to take that action, pretty much then, and virtually any business that's kind of a walk-in business, those bills are on the property. It's a matter of, have you motivated that person to go get them, is what it boils down to. So
Sure.
we may not have an emotional product, but it is a transfer of emotion, isn't it, Joe?
It is. It is. And let me close with this in my comments. Remember this, if you're on the phone call today, when you walk out, if you're in the Midwestern states, in Ohio, and, up in New York or Pennsylvania, anywhere you're at, when you're outside at night, every place in the city, in your skyline, whatever, where you see a light bulb, there's an electricity bill. And every kilowatt, Rick, right now as we speak, and every therm of natural gas, every kilowatt of electricity, every unit of energy right now, somebody's earning a commission on. And your consumer, your end user, at some point in his business or her business, has signed a contract somewhere, somehow, 99% of the time. So what we're not trying to get them to do a purchase they've never done before. They're already doing it. They already have electricity there. They wouldn't be in business. And somebody's earning a commission on that electricity. Now the question is, are you willing to share the 8-second question to make sure that the consumer actually has the best price possible? Because if nobody's done that, the likelihood of that consumer lucking out and having the best price is very, very slim. It's rarely does it ever happen. And when people in BidPoint and the field really understands this isn't a new purchase for consumers, they've done it before. Now we're just making sure that they have the best price. It's a welcomed question to the end user. Unlike 99% of anything else that you'd be out there, quote unquote, selling, where the consumer's typically going to say no first because they don't want to buy anything, well, they're already buying natural gas. They're already buying electricity. You're only asking them the question, would you rather pay less versus more? And everybody has always said yes to that. So it's a pretty easy sell. The question is, how many times are you presenting as an individual? How many times are you presenting the 8-second question? And that's the question everyone just has to ask themselves. You want a small income? Present it every once in a while. You want a big income? Present it a lot. You want a huge income? Present the 8-second question and then ask your entrepreneurial friends, hey, look, here's how hard my business is. Here's an 8-second question. Go ask people, can you do that? And quite honestly, if somebody can't do that, you don't want them in your business. Everybody says yes, though, truly, because the 8-second question it's filled that gap that allows the opportunity to be limitless. So we're excited we're here, Rick. Thanks for having me on the call today.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you being on the call and everybody else, too. I mean, I hope you guys are picking up some of the nuggets. This will obviously be uploaded and presented out there on our Facebook page as well as our blog page, bidpoint.co, pretty quickly. And we have some things coming I want to mention, Joe, another vertical in the brokerage space we're going to be adding to our opportunity, so we'll be talking about that probably at some point next week. So once again, Joe, I appreciate you being on the call, and for everybody else, have an awesome rest of your week. And let's go talk some 8-second question and get some bills. So everybody have an awesome day. Talk to you soon.